The former president taking heat
to meet with avowed racist or anti-Semite.
for who came to dinner at his South Florida home. It's the Cats versus Canada.
From the chance, Kachuk once, twice, score!
The Panthers play the first of 3 games north of the border. Plus, is today's match between U.S. and Iran more than just a game?
And so, we're seeing something on a much larger scale here.
These stories and more coming up on Newsbreak.
Hey there, good morning, South Florida. I'm Christopher Gomez. Thanks so much for making us a part of your morning.
I'm Amanda Gray. Today is Tuesday, November 29th, 2022.
Live from the South Florida Media Network's Biscayne-based studios in North Miami, this is SFMN Newsbreak.
With just a few weeks of work between Thanksgiving and Christmas gatherings, infectious disease experts warn we may be spreading more than just holiday spirit. 'Tis the season to gather with loved ones from near and far.
But as the network's Christy Hernandez reports, travelers could be returning to South Florida with one of 3 major viruses of the so-called triple-demic that's spreading right now.
The holiday season is in full swing, and people are hitting the roads and skies at nearly pre-pandemic numbers. At the same time, a triple threat of viruses looms. Respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV in particular, is causing major concerns for children, and according to Dr. Anthony Fauci, it's at a critical point, approaching an emergency.
In some regions of the country, we're seeing that the hospital system for pediatrics are at the point of almost being overwhelmed. When you have very little wiggle room of intensive care beds, when you have like almost all the intensive care beds that are occupied.
With the trifecta of COVID, flu, and RSV circulating right now, Dr. Fauci says protecting yourself this holiday season begins with your vaccination status.
We have 2 of the 3 of the trifecta. We have vaccinations for clearly COVID, particularly with the updated boosters that are now available. We have vaccinations for influenza.
Medical experts suggest that if you're going to be getting together with others, go back to the basics and use common sense. Stay up to date on vaccines, wash your hands, wear a mask around others if you're in the vulnerable category, and suggest everyone take a quick COVID test before getting together. One silver lining, though, other countries have already seen their flu and RSV numbers peak early and start to come down.
We're hoping that that's going to happen because both flu and RSV have come to us earlier than it usually does.
This is Christy Hernandez with the South Florida Media Network.
Dr. Anthony Fauci announced over the weekend he's stepping down from his post at the White House. His parting words, he says he'd like to see more Americans get the new Omicron COVID booster shot.
Former President Trump made headlines for the dinner he held for Kanye West at Mar-a-Lago here in South Florida. But as CNN's Sunlin Serfati reports, the controversial rapper wasn't the problem. It was because of who else was at the table.
Former President Donald Trump's newly launched bid for the White House facing criticism after he hosted a known white nationalist, Nick Fuentes, who was a guest of rapper Kanye West at Mar-a-Lago.
I don't think it's a good idea for a leader that's setting an example for the country or the party to meet with avowed racist or anti-Semite.
West's recent anti-Semitic remarks caused companies that he was affiliated with, including Adidas and Balenciaga, to drop him from their brands. Fuentes is a 24-year-old Holocaust denier who espouses racist rhetoric on his podcast. Fuentes was also on the grounds of the Capitol on January 6, prompting the House Select Committee investigating the Capitol attack to issue Fuentes a subpoena in January. In a post on his Truth Social platform Friday, Trump denied knowing Fuentes, writing West unexpectedly showed up with 3 of his friends who I knew nothing about. The dinner was quick and uneventful.
So Trump is really impressed with Nick Fuentes. And Nick Fuentes, unlike so many of the lawyers and so many people that he was left with on his 2020 campaign, he's actually a loyalist.
A source told CNN that Trump found Fuentes, quote, very interesting. Particularly Fuentes' ability to rattle off statistics and his knowledge of Trump world. At one point during the dinner, Trump declared he liked Fuentes. According to that same source, the dinner grew tense at various times, including when West, who recently launched his own presidential bid, asked Trump to join his 2024 campaign ticket as his vice president.
That was CNN's Sunlin Sarfati reporting. President Biden responded, "You don't want to hear what I think," when asked about the dinner over the weekend. He has yet to announce a re-election bid.
One of Florida's largest employers is keeping its hiring freeze in place. Returning Disney CEO Bob Iger announced the news to employees yesterday. It was part of a town hall meeting at Disney's headquarters in Burbank, California. Disney stock has plummeted almost 100 points since its peak in March 2021. This hiring freeze was initially announced by Iger's predecessor, Bob Chapek, earlier this month.
Controversy has risen ahead of today's World Cup match between the United States and Iran. Iran state media is demanding the U.S. team to be kicked out of the World Cup after the United States Soccer Federation posted a picture of the Irani flag without the Islamic Republic emblem on their social media platforms. The U.S. soccer team has defended its action, claiming it was an effort to show support for the women protesting human rights abuses in Iran. U.S. journalist Jason Rezan believes the World Cup has created a special opportunity to highlight the demonstrations.
Well, Anna, thanks for having me on. It's such a heady time in the world, and all that's going on in Iran is getting the spotlight that it deserves, in part because of the World Cup, but also because of the very clear aspirations and demands of Iranian citizens for a different way forward, something that they've been calling for a very long time, but never as clearly as they are right now.
Protests in Iran started in late September after the death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini and have continued since then.
A nail-biting match for the Florida Panthers. They were on the road against the Edmonton Oilers, the match going into overtime. Both teams had one score each after the first two periods. Then they got to two each in the final period. That includes a goal against the Caps with only a few seconds left on the clock, sending the game into OT. Unfortunately for the Panthers, the Oilers scored quick out of the intermission. Final score, Oilers 4, Panthers 3. The Panthers move on to play the Calgary Flames tonight at 9.
The world's largest active volcano is here in the U.S., and it's erupting right now.
That's still ahead, and so is this story.
Oh my God! That's crazy!
A crash and fire in Florida, and it was at a store selling, of all things, fireworks. Stay close, friends. Newsbreak will be back in 2 minutes.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
With Julia's autism, loud sounds can be too much.
But she still loves to make music.
Yeah.
Play band.
Early screening for autism can make a lifetime of difference. Find out more at screenforautism.org.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. She had so many children, she didn't know what to do. She gave them some broth without any bread and kissed them all soundly.
Lights out.
Good night. And put them to bed. Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org.
I help our fellows design their paths as creative entrepreneurs. My experiences serving startups, creative businesses, and cultural organizations, and my journey as a queer mixed immigrant with Haitian and Arabic roots, inform the co-creative environment we foster at Radcliffe. We leverage our collective diversity to encourage the building of lifelong personal learning networks and mindsets that stimulate continuous innovation.
Welcome back. A driver causes an explosive emergency at a Florida store. Tragedy in Central Florida after a driver crashed into a fireworks store, setting it on fire and causing all the fireworks to go off. The driver is now confirmed dead.
The fiery crash was yesterday near Melbourne. The crash involved two cars which collided. The force of the hit caused one of the cars to barrel through a parking lot and then straight into the store.
Coming out, I heard loud explosions. It was boom, boom, boom.
30 firefighters battled the flames and have since reopened the road.
Finally this morning, eyes on Hawaii as the largest active volcano on the planet is erupting for the first time in 38 years. The Mauna Loa is on Hawaii's Big Island, where just over 200,000 people live. Scientists say the lava is likely to stop before it reaches populated areas, but they are still urging residents to be prepared to evacuate. Hawaii's Emergency Management Agency has activated its operations center, and the National Guard is on standby.
That's all the time we have for Newsbreak. I'm Amanda Gray.
And I'm Christopher Gomez. We are out of time. You are up to date. Get more news anytime at sfmn.fiu.edu. Take care.